If you're like most people, you probably drive a car regularly, yet you likely have no idea what's happening under the hood to make it run. And that's how you might be feeling about exercising and being assigned on options. You understand conceptually what these terms mean, but how does the process actually work? Well, that's what we're going to tackle here, with some help from our options traders, Jack, the buyer, and Sarah, the seller. Let's say Jack buys one call option for a fictional ABC1 Corp stock at a strike price of $50, expiring in a month. That gives him the right to purchase 100 shares of the underlying stock at the strike price on or before the expiration date. And on the other side, let's say Sarah sells that very same call. She earns a premium on the sale of the option itself, but in exchange, she'll also be obligated to sell 100 shares of the underlying stock at the strike price if she's assigned. Now let's imagine that ABC1 Corp stock climbs from $45 per share to $55, putting Jack's call in the money. Exercising the option would allow him to purchase the shares for $50 apiece, which is less than their market price of $55. He could then sell them for a profit of $5 per share, or $500 total, minus the premium he paid, as well as any fees and commissions, of course. Or he could decide to hold them if he sees further upside ahead. Given this, Jack informs his broker that he'd like to exercise his option early to buy ABC1 stock at $50 per share. He also confirms that he has enough funds in his account to purchase the shares. When that happens, Jack's broker sends an exercise notice to the Central Options Clearing Counterparty. In Canada, that's the Canadian Derivatives Clearing Corporation, owned by the Montreal Exchange. In the United States, it's the Options Clearing Corporation. That counterparty will then randomly assign a brokerage to handle the order. Why is this process random, you ask? Well, it's to ensure that there's a fair distribution of options assignments among the various clearing agents. Next, the brokerage selected will dole out the assignment to clients that currently have a short position in that specific option. In this case, a call on ABC1 Corp at a $50 strike price with a 1-month expiry date. If the exercise request is relatively small, it may be assigned to a single client, but larger requests could be divvied up amongst several. This selection process must be approved by the options exchange upon which the contract trades, also in the name of fairness. Of course, the call buyer doesn't have to exercise all their contracts at once, or at all. But here, Jack only bought a single contract, so just one trader who is short the specific option will be assigned. And for simplicity's sake, let's say it's Sarah. On the next trading day, the broker will inform her that she's been assigned to fulfill the contract. If Sarah already owns 100 shares of ABC1 Corp, her broker will transfer them out of her account at a price of $50 per share. The shares are delivered to Jack's broker, who then places the shares into his account. It takes 2 business days for them to settle. However, if Sarah does not already own those 100 shares, she'll be forced to short the stock immediately, regardless of her account value or buying power. Jack will be charged an exercise fee and Sarah an assignment fee by their brokers for this transaction. If Sarah ends up with a short position, this could put her account into what's called a margin call. That's when a margin account balance runs below the required minimum set by their broker. Sarah will need to either buy the shares back or deposit enough funds to sustain the short position. This will bring her account back into good standing. The settlement process is handled entirely by brokerages and works the same way for calls and puts. In fact, any option that is in the money by as little as 1 cent at expiry will automatically be exercised, unless the buyer instructs their broker otherwise. At TD, any do not exercise instructions must be provided no later than 4:30 p.m. Eastern on the option's final trading day. Most of the time though, options won't be exercised. It's common for traders to trade and close out their positions prior to expiration to avoid exercise or assignment. But it's certainly a possibility and one that traders will want to be prepared for in case it happens. Those that are short the call option should be particularly cautious of early assignment if the underlying stock has an upcoming dividend, especially if the dividend is higher than the extrinsic value left on the option. In those cases, the call owner may choose to exercise the option prior to its ex-dividend date in order to qualify for the dividend payout. If that happens, the short seller will need to deliver the shares and the dividend payment if the assignment leaves them with a short position. At TD Direct Investing, you'll be able to see any exercise and assignment transactions the next morning under the activity page in Webroker. You should also take action immediately to bring your account back into good standing should a margin call occur. Now that you understand the mechanics of options exercise and assignment, you can start thinking strategy. And that's the perfect segue into the next series of lessons, ways to use options.